Hello, everybody. While everybody is joining, I'm going between wearing t-shirts and wearing jumpers. And today I'm on the jumpers. And then, it's supposed to be nice this afternoon. And it's grey outside at the moment, honestly, but still warmer than it was in Alaska, which was great. It was 5 to 10 degrees, and I saw whales and bald-headed eagles and lots of dramatic scenery, and it was just lovely. And so I've already told Nadia I'm off again next week, definitely. Another few holidays. I think actually it should be provided on the NHS because, the cost of an inside cabin per, trip, if you book it in advance, it's much cheaper than, stress medication and everything that you have on the NHS. And everybody would be really relaxed and it would be fantastic. There you go. No problem.
Yeah. Right. Should be prescribed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure I could find somebody, private doctor somewhere who could prescribe it for me. It'd be fine.
Honestly, it should be a tool in the GP receptionist tool bag.
Yeah,
they should say, have you recently been on holiday? You can't see the doctor if you haven't. Here's a prescription.
Your employer has to pay for you to go on holiday. Bye-bye. Yes.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, gosh, that would be lovely. So, right, I've only been back since Tuesday and I already have a interesting case to deal with. So, golf club, they contacted me, even though they're a retained client, and they've been with us for several years. So, but it's a new general manager there. And she said, okay, I wanted to check something with you before we follow this other HR advice. I'm like, what other HR advice? And it turns out that 2 of the members of the committee are part of the Print Association, which, as many professional bodies do, provides an HR advice line free of charge as part of it. Okay. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't really be listening to them because you pay us and they're doing it for free. So they're not indemnifying you for any advice they give to you. And at a certain point, given that you are not paying them, they're going to say, we're not interested anymore. We're happy to do you a favor, but we're not doing anymore. And it's like, okay, but let's go through what's happened. Okay, well, we want to discipline this person and get rid of her. Okay, well, how long has she been with you? Well, less than 6 months. Well, why aren't you just firing her? Well, because she raised a claim of sexual assault. Right. But she probably made that up because she's got form. Okay, wait, sorry. You've been there 1 week already and you are drinking the Kool-Aid and telling me what the committee have said to you about this person who you don't know, and you've just blindly followed that. It's like, so I'm like, are you saying she made up the sexual assault because to avoid being dismissed on the disciplinary? Yeah, that's what we think. And I'm like, okay. We haven't had that for a long time. It's absolutely possible. Lots of things are possible, unfortunately. But you need to send me the stuff through. And it turns out that this woman raised a detailed claim of sexual assault back in March, 15th of March. She raised this. The club hasn't really done very much with it. They did suspend the member. Okay. They also, although I'm struggling because obviously the new GM doesn't have all the information because they weren't there all the time, struggling to work out exactly what the member was told about the incident, whether he got the email with the details or whether he was just verbally told it. Anyway, the member then responded, and I read his response, and the first 2 paragraphs made me go, this could be a 50-50 one. And they're very rarely 50-50. It's really absolutely clear. And the only defense that we get is, I was really drunk. Well, okay, so you did it then. That's fine. Because, if you can't come up with something better. But he was like, no, this is what happened. And I'm like, oh, okay, this could be tricky. We'll have to see how it goes. And then the 3rd paragraph went straight into character assassination of the employee. And I'm like, oh, mate, you were doing so well. If you hadn't done the character assassination, you would have been fine. But now you've done that, I know that you're lying through your teeth. Because if you were truly innocent, you wouldn't need to do character assassination. You would be relying on that. And then I also noticed, he said, I have a Ring doorbell and I have video showing me going through my door at 9:29 p.m. Right. So, and now we're in May. Okay. So this was the 18th of March. He wrote that letter. So wouldn't anybody on this call, if you have video evidence that nothing happened in front of your house like she's saying it did, wouldn't you have already given you the video to the club and said, look, I'm totally innocent? The fact that he hasn't lead me to think that it does back up what she says. Because why would you not do that? You wouldn't need to do character assassination. You just say, look, she said this happened in front of my house. Here's the video. It shows you the car drawing up. What happened? I am innocent. And we would have gone, yep, end of, no. So it's dragged on and dragged on. The employee is off sick. They only just invited her to a disciplinary. So there's no way she raised the sexual assault to get out of the disciplinary, because that was 2 months ago. And now they've decided to invite her to a disciplinary for poor performance. So I'm like, right, okay, so can you send me what you sent for the disciplinary? Because the employee is refusing to attend, which is now logical because she's off sick till the end of the month. You can't do this while she's off sick. And then it's like, yeah, so poor performance. I'm like, yes, but what poor performance? What evidence do you have? And then I was sent the email from the other HR person, which did not help very much. But it was like, yeah, poor performance, April 2025. And I'm like, that's not evidence. That's not details. You can't do that. So there's nothing in there. They've put in 4 things that they consider to be gross misconduct, even, to invite her. They have no evidence. They saying, oh, you were bullying. Where are the witness statements? Where's the investigation? And it's like, oh yeah, none of that's happened. And I'm like, this is why you shouldn't be following the other HR person, because what she's doing is professionally negligent. Because if you followed that and you got that sexual assault claim and then you dismiss her, I'm going to say it looks to me like you're trying to dismiss her, because she has been off sick since the beginning of April. So the fact that you're deciding mid-May to do a disciplinary based on what she's not been there to be disciplined, it's like, would be a direct consequence. So that's going to be £5,000 to £10,000 easily in the settlement agreement, easily, possibly more if she wanted to, because she could easily go to the media and they will gobble that up. So it's just having started with, oh, could you just check the sort of disciplinary because she doesn't want to come and she's a bit of a troublemaker, into, oh my goodness, how have you done this so badly? Given that you have retained HR and you could have spoken to them at any point about this, you decided you would do it yourself and just make it up. It's like, wow. So I'm just saying, if you do have any grievances from anybody about anything, contact us so that we make sure the right process is dealt with, because this should have been resolved by the end of March. There is no reason we should be dealing with this in May. Oh, and the other thing about sexual assault, they were saying that she might have made it up. She reported it to the police. The police did an initial conversation with the person, with the member, and then let him go. And then they actually invited him for an official meeting, and he was charged and released on bail. That is not what people do who are making it up. Okay, and she's got all the details, and, you know, as far as we're concerned at this stage, he's guilty anyway. So it's just like, why have you believed everything you said? So, oh, she's just making it up. No, she's not. And you've sort of followed what she said. It's sexual assault, so you suspended the member. Great. But you haven't actually followed through. And it's like, oh, well, we need to wait for the police. That's what the other HR person said. You have to wait for the police. You absolutely do not wait for the police, because that can take years.
You'll wait forever, and they will never share the information anyway.
No, exactly. So we're not doing a criminal prosecution. We are doing, on the balance of probability, do we think this took place? Yes, we do. Therefore, what is the sanction against the member? Okay. So it's just, we could have had this all nicely sorted out about the sexual assault, and then we could have dealt with the disciplinary performance issues, and it would have been clear and clean, and everybody would have got well, not everybody, the club would have got what it wanted. But now it's like, yeah, we've got her for a next couple of months while we sort this out, to be honest. Yeah,
so, absolutely. You've got her for at least 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. So Nadia, how about you? You've had lots to do lately.
I have, and I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's coming up so much right now, to the point where I'm going, no, when I see one. So this is flexible working applications, right? And we hear the same thing over and over when it comes to flexible working applications. So I'm going to take a few moments to kind of talk you through what you can and can't say with flexible working applications. I know they feel like a bit of a headache, but that the employee has a right to ask for flexible working. And to be honest, they don't even have to have a very good reason. I described to someone my reason for not working on Fridays is simply that I have ponies and I want to ride my ponies on a Friday. That is a good enough reason. Any reason is a good enough reason. You don't, in the olden days, it had to be like childcare or health or something really specific. It doesn't have to be. Someone can just say, I don't want to work 5 days a week. I want to work 4 days a week. They don't need to have a particularly good reason as to why. Now, here are some of the things that we hear. And I want to be clear that these are not solid reasons. They do not count as reasons for saying no to a flexible working application. We don't want to set a precedent. I am sure this is the one we hear the most. Sorry, not valid. You can't say no just because you're worried someone else might ask as well, and you're going to open the floodgates and everybody's going to want flexible working. Well, first of all, everybody's allowed to apply for flexible working. So you're not opening the floodgates, it's already open. So each request has to be considered individually. And just because you said one request, yes to one request, doesn't mean you have to allow everyone in that department to now work flexibly. You might have approved one request and approved a second request that doesn't impact so much, and then someone else is coming with a request that isn't doable now due to the working hours or something, and then you would treat that individually, each one, and then that one might not be approved because you might not be able to fit in the working hours. So it doesn't mean that because you've said yes to one person, you have to say yes to everyone. Although I'd really want you to check with me if you're going to say no to someone, because I need to understand that there isn't a favoritism kind of, if it doesn't look like favoritism or something. It's not fair on the rest of the team is another favorite that we get. Also not a good enough reason. The law doesn't allow for decisions based on what is the easiest or what feels the most equal. It has to be about the business impact. It has to be considered individually, and it has to be the business impact needs to be your reason for saying no. It doesn't fit with our culture. Again, it's really vague and just not good enough. You need to be able to show that the request will actually cause a problem, not just that it doesn't align with your ethos or you generally just don't do that here. Is not a good enough reason. This one's come up a few times recently. We tried it in COVID, it didn't work. Okay, so that's just not going to cut it, unfortunately, unless you have a current role-specific situation or evidence of this exact department or exact role in this department. Relating it to one that doesn't work is just not. It's not going to work to say, oh, we tried it 4 years ago in COVID and it didn't work then. Well, yeah, everything was different then. You need a very comparable situation now that isn't working to be able to say, this is a person at this level asking to do this in this department. We already have a person at that level in that department doing something similar, and that's not working. That is comparable. Otherwise, it's not. And it's very rare you're going to find something that comparable. And then the cost of equipment for home working is one that's come up recently. Unless the cost is genuinely massive for your business and undoable, this just won't fly. Saying we don't have £400 to buy a laptop or £500 to buy a laptop is not going to be good enough, or we don't have £120 for an office chair. It's just not going to be good enough. But if it's going to cost you absolutely thousands and you are a small business and you don't have that revenue, you might be able to argue this one. But I'm just going to put it out there, a golf club saying we don't have, £700 to set this person up to work at home is not going to fly. So basically, none of these type of excuses are acceptable to say no to a flexible working request. They're actually just diplomatically worded reasons and excuses for we don't want to. And it's very clear. Anyone who works with the law can see right through all of those and see all it is that actually you just don't want to do it. You don't want to go through the hassle and the effort of doing this. You can say no to flexible working applications, but it needs to be a business reason, and it needs to be one of the sort of statutory reasons as well, which are things like a detrimental effect on the quality or the performance, an inability to reorganize the workforce or the team, an inability to meet customer demand, things like that. But you have to be able to evidence it, also not just assume that it's going to have, to say that you can't do it because it will have, it could have, or it will have an impact on performance. You're going to have to put more to that, rather more than just we think the person won't be able to perform if they are in that role. Yeah, but why? You're going to need to put something to it. So this is why we actually suggest that you try it for 3 or 6 months, because then you actually have some clear evidence and said, we tried this for 3 months, we tried it for 6 months, we reviewed it, X, Y, and Z, didn't work. This is why we can't continue with it. Puts you in a much stronger position, and it also makes you look better because it makes you look like you tried or you were willing to try, rather than just saying no because you don't want to do it. So that's my little piece about it. If anyone has any questions, let me know.
That's good. Right. Well, I'm sure there are questions. David, it's nice to see you on the call. Haven't seen you for a while. Have you got any questions today?
I'm only on the call so that well, Nadia knows that I'm still alive, but you don't know I'm still alive. So
I do. I've been seeing emails, David, believe me. Yeah.
Having made the huge sacrifice to be on the call, I have no questions whatsoever, which is a bit pathetic of me, isn't it?
No, that's fine.
Are you just here for the entertainment?
I am, yes, I am. The best I could think about was that I'm trying to get our HR files in order and up to date and all of those sorts of things. So remind me what our obligations are in terms of current employees whose contracts of employment are very old and therefore quite a long way away from your latest, generally quite good template contracts.
Generally quite good. Wow.
Well, yes, when you still finish them with the law applicable in England and Wales, then yes, you're absolutely not
okay, you're right.
Yeah,
I'll let you have that one. Okay.
I win. Thank you.
Yes, you do. This time, David.
Sorry.
Right. Sorry, you don't. So legally, you don't have to ever update the contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, there is a business reason for updating the contract. That the easiest way, if it fits in time-wise, is if there's a pay increase or a promotion, is to issue a new contract at that point saying, there you go, this is what it is. The other alternative is that I'm going to say ideally outside of the season, to say, right, everybody, here's a new contract with the same terms and conditions, but it's just the wording around it is better. And they've got 4 weeks to object in writing. And if they don't, even if they don't sign it, it then will come into effect after 2 months. And that's then a more structured process. So we can do that as well.
That sounds okay.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like a worthwhile exercise. I mean, in the meantime, if we have an issue where the way that we deal with the issue would be different based on a current contract as opposed to the contract as signed at that time by said employee. I don't have an example of that, but if it happened, then
the only thing that would affect it would be if the old contract had an actual detailed disciplinary or grievance procedure that we weren't following. That would be a problem. Okay. But actually anything else, I mean, their notice period is still valid. Any sick pay that's detailed in there is still valid. We can't change that. So it's then that's the key thing is then, okay, what was in their contract that they signed? Great. We just take that into account when we're doing any actions against them.
But sick pay is a good example because we've now got a new sick pay policy, whereas before it was only statutory sick pay. So presumably, because that sick pay policy, hopefully, I think, is in our updated staff handbook, then that would take precedence. Yeah.
So what in that case, which is a positive thing, that's a lot easier. We would just issue a contract amendment letter/email to everybody saying, as of this date, please note that this is the sick pay. All other terms and conditions remain the same. And everybody go, oh, thank you.
And I didn't do that. So I think we introduced a new sick pay policy about a year ago, or just over a year ago. So you're incorporating it. We're incorporating it together into new contracts.
Yeah.
But I have an awful feeling that I didn't even send out some sort of generic notification to current staff.
Yeah. But that's not a problem. We can do something sort of that says, look, we've just become increasingly aware that actually this is not as well known as it should be. And therefore, we just wanted to let you know, make sure you read this section of the handbook with the sickness policy. Okay. Yeah.
But I'd definitely be up for at least a discussion. Although I'm paying you so much money every day at the moment.
Wow, really good value, David. Really good value. I was gonna come and visit you next weekend. You know,
do that.
Weekend,
no, I love
because I'm gonna be in Belfast. I thought I'll go and see David. I'm not sure I want to now.
You can. I'm trying to provoke Nadia, not you. Anyway.
Don't worry, I'm not provoked. I know I'm doing a lot of work for you.
Yeah.
I just want to point out what Carolyne's just explained to David is doable if you are giving them something more and something
nice. Yeah.
Do not do this if you are reducing their holiday or their sick pay or whatever. If they're worse off, don't do it. If they're better off, feel free.
No, it's just, and this is not a criticism, so don't take it as such. It's the opposite. But obviously, I guess each year, don't we? We tend to receive updated template contracts from you, or maybe it's not as specific as that.
But no, the contracts aren't more ad hoc as needed. It's the handbook that's every year. Yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Yeah. Okay. But I definitely have got in my 3 years 5 or 6 probably updated contract templates because we've changed something or something's changed in law. So it does feel a little bit that some of the older ones will be quite a way away from the current ones.
Well, certainly the ones that are more than 3 years old will be miles away from it.
Okay.
Yeah. What I would say, though, is we need to just wait until October or at least until we've got more details in, because there's no point planning it now and doing all that work if they then say, oh, you need to put these clauses into your contract. Yeah. So we need to wait and see what the government's going to make us do, which we don't really have clearly defined at the moment.
No, that's fine. That was almost a worthwhile conversation. Thank you very much.
That's great. I don't need to come and visit you now, David.
You do. You're welcome here anytime.
I'm going to say,
beautiful place, as you know.
Yeah, it is. Sitting in your clubhouse, looking out over the Firth Sea.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Almost makes me wish that I was good at golf. I'm just saying.
Most of the people that play on our golf courses aren't good at golf. So. Thank you, guys. It's nice to see your smiling faces.
Yes. Lovely. Okay, so Melanie Pointer, do you have questions today? Nice to see you.
I don't have any specific questions, which is quite amazing given what's been going on. But the flexible working, I did think of something, and that is that if somebody asks to work from home or do some flexible stuff, can you then reinstate some new boundaries, like example, new targets and objectives and things like that based on the fact that they've asked it. So in other words, saying, yes, you can, but we'll need to measure X, Y, and Z. So you've got some idea of output, or can you not change anything you do?
No, you can. That's perfectly acceptable as long as it is specifically related to that. So if you are going to say, all right, you are now going, you're asking to actually work half your time from home now. We're willing to try this, but we will need to put the following measures in place to be certain that, things are still getting done in a timely manner, that it's working, that the communication is working, that the clients can still reach you easily enough, those kind of things. So as long as they are connected to that, what you don't want to do is suddenly increase the revenue KPI because there's an opportunity here that you won't get away with that, for example.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions? No, everybody's happy. That's excellent. Well, we will be looking for some more interesting cases for next week's conversation. And hopefully by then I'll have worked out exactly what's happening at this golf club, and I'll have an update on what the next steps are. But otherwise, obviously, as ever, give us a call, send us an email, and have a lovely weekend, no matter what the weather is. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free tribunal audit of your employment contract and handbook, click the link in the description below.